For those who don't know me, my name is Greg Royce. I'm at Stevenson University, and I'm the first vice president of EAST-COMM. Today, I just want to introduce David Petroff of Genius Sports. David's a former SID, for those who don't know him, and he's taken some time out of his vacation schedule this morning to come and join us and share with us the latest updates on NCAA Live Stats. So, David, thank you for that, and I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Greg. Thank you, everybody at EAST-COMM for having me. Yeah, I'm coming to you live from Moab, Utah. So got up nice and early. To meet you guys. My goal here, we've got about an hour together. My goal here is to give a short presentation. It's going to be similar to what if you were on the COSIDA presentation, it'll be similar to that. I'm going to do it faster. I'm going to, because I'm going to assume that some of you probably have seen it. And I want to leave a lot of time for questions. So I'm going to do a little bit, a short presentation on Genius and the NCAA Live Stats project and where we're at. And then we will take about, and then I'm going to do a short demonstration on NCAA Live Stats for football. Since that is not I guess it's our newest product. We had over 100 schools use it last year, so it's not entirely new, but it's new to a lot of schools this year. My goal is to get through all that in about 30 minutes and then have another 30 minutes for questions. And that'll be open floor, whatever you want to ask, you can ask, and I'll do my best to answer. So let me screen share to get started. Oh, there we go. Okay. So just a couple things I want to go through. We're entering, this will be the fourth year of NCAA Live Stats. Made a lot of progress. We've come a long way. We're up to six sports with counting beach volleyball that we are supporting. 5 that we're supporting in a live fashion. Here's what you can look at for 2021 and 22. Baseball and softball is currently in development. This project was put on hold for about a year due to COVID. We were like everyone else. We're a little short on resources, short on time. We had to put those energies into football and ice hockey. So baseball and softball got left on the back burner for a year, but now it's back in action. We have a really good group of SIDs that are working with us on it. And so in 2021-22, we'll see a beta season for baseball and softball. I know we have a ton of interest for people who want to be part of that beta season. I'm afraid to tell you that it's going to be a relatively small group, 15 to 20 schools maybe, that'll be able to test it out and try it. So there's no way we're going to be able to accommodate everybody that wants to try it for a beta season. We'll have a new NCAA Live Stats for beach volleyball. That'll be primarily a mobile application, since it's far more likely, I should say it's not very likely you're going to bring 5 laptops to the beach to do an entire beach volleyball match. Probably not real relevant to this group anyway. NCAA Live Stats for ice hockey, NCAA Live Stats for football will be in their second year. We had great success with those. We're looking forward to that. And then of course, volleyball, soccer, basketball, all be continuing. So we looked at 2022 and 23. We're looking at a revamp of the NSCM to really give you more flexibility in reporting, allow you to pick and choose categories, have more filters, things like that. Trying to make that an improved reporting feature than where it is now. And then of course, a full launch of NCAA Live Stats for softball and baseball. Adoption rates, we're very happy with the adoption rates last year, especially in such a strange year. We're looking forward to seeing these numbers continue to grow. Football and ice hockey. Football, we had 103 teams. We had about 12 teams on our controlled release in the fall. That was supposed to be a controlled release of about 40 teams, but of course, other than major Division I, just about everybody pushed their season to the spring. But then we did add another 85 teams in the spring. So that was really good to see. Ice hockey had really good numbers for a first year program, first year product. We're really happy to see that. Some new features. I'm not going to go into detail about this. These are all the things we've added in the last year to existing sports in the NSCM. I'll share this slideshow with Greg later if people want to see that. Big change this year is our integration with Sportscast. So Sportscast is now a part of Genius Sports, and we are using this starting out in basketball, football, and ice hockey. This device, what this device does, if you're not familiar, this device connects to your scoreboard system. It either does it, if you have a scoreboard control room in your arena, it'll connect to your scoreboard control room, or it'll connect directly to your console, to your, if it's a Daktronic console or whatever company makes your scoreboard, it'll connect there. From that point, if the ScoreLink device and your NCAA Live Stats computer are on the same network, on the same subnet, then NCAA Live Stats will be able to pull in that clock data directly in. So what this means in basketball, no more space bar. You don't have to start and stop the clock. It'll run automatically. If you look on the NSCM in the knowledge base, you'll find a long document about using the ScoreLink with basketball. The only thing I need to remind you of, you still have to end and confirm periods manually. Okay, it won't automatically do that for you. During testing, we had a couple issues where people just assumed the period would change and end for them. Nope, still have to do that manually. We realized we can't count on the scoreboard operator to always update the period properly in the scoreboard, things like that. So it is up to you. In football, what it means is for the first time ever, we'll have an actual clock in the software. So we can timestamp every play. Okay, something that we haven't been able to do in the past with StatCrew. We've had, in the past StatCrew, we've only updated the clock at the end of change of possession or scoring play. We're going to be able to now timestamp every play automatically. It's going to make it much easier to find plays when you need to. It's also going to allow you to have some better stats on the back end, on the front end, like time of possession will be actual time of possession, not just at the end of each drive. It'll show it, it'll update after each play. So that'll be it. You'll also have your game centers will update the clock routinely after every play. So your fans will see an actual clock, not necessarily ticking, but updating after each play and not just the end of the drive. So when that team starts that 8-minute drive to end the game, the fans won't be left guessing exactly how much time is left. They'll know after every play. NCAA Live Stats for football. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a minute, and I'm going to do a little demonstration for you. So I'm not going to go too much onto it. Some quotes from Sarah. She's a Division III SID who works as Notre Dame's game day statistician. And from Brett in Illinois, and Brian Kipley at Aurora, another Division III SID. He basically threw his students into the fire after just watching a first half over his shoulder and let them sink or swim, and they did pretty well. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but that's how Kipley operates. Why NCAA Live Stats for football? I'm going to show you some of this. I'll show you some of the details. I will point out we're going to have targets, target yard lines, yards after catch. So there are 1 or 2 extra data points that you're going to be required to enter. but I think it'll be manageable. Like any product, it's going to take an adjustment period. I think doing the training games and then getting into it, like most new software, your first quarter, your first half of your first game is going to feel crazy and a little intense. And then after that, I think you're really going to settle into it. Keys to success. Some of these you're probably already familiar with if you're familiar with NCAA Live Stats. I will say really important in football is game prep rosters updated and submitted to the NCAA database. That's going to be important, especially because we know how football coaches like to change their rosters up all the time. It's going to be a weekly process. Remember, all the roster and schedule data comes directly from the NCAA database. So, back in the day, you might have updated your NCAA roster at the beginning of the season and never looked at it again, never touched it again, just let it sit. And the NCAA staff in the background might have updated some players for you as needed. This is going to be, that method's not going to be as effective. You're going to need to check your NCAA roster each week, particularly in football, where coaches might be making jersey changes, things like that frequently. And you're going to need to make sure that need to make sure that your roster is accurate, because when the opposing SID puts in the game key for NCAA Live Stats for football, they're going to get whatever the NCAA database roster says. If you haven't updated it since week 1 and it's week 7, they're probably not going to get the correct roster. And that'll create more headaches for them on their end and more headaches for you on your end. Game time's also really important. Division I, often their game times aren't determined till 10 days out. Anytime you have a TBA game time, that's fine. But once you know that game time, make sure you go in the NCAA database and update that. Summer training webinars, those are already open and available. We're going to start next week, a week from today, I think. 28th. 29th is our first one. I said the week of 28th because I didn't know at the time, but yeah, a week from today will be our first webinar. The summer will be football, volleyball, soccer. In the fall, we'll do ice hockey and basketball as we get ready. Remember, if you can't make I recommend live webinars because you can actually ask questions and they're actually kind of fun when we get some good interaction back and forth. But if you can't make those, always in the knowledge base, each sport has a recorded webinar. The most recent webinar is always there. So you can always go back and look to it or send it on to student workers, whoever else might need to see it. Support ncamanager.com/know more. We're always there. The training videos, full-length training games with callers are really helpful. Most of you are probably pretty aware of those, and the recorded webinars, like I mentioned. We'll have training sessions and town halls throughout the season. Contact, you probably know how to contact us by now, ncasupport@geniussports.com, or our phone number. And also there's a little live chat feature, which the people that use it love it because it's just a little quicker. And if it's a short question that just needs a short answer and they don't want to wait for an email or chat on the phone, it works real well. So what's up next? Baseball, softball. Like I said, we've got a group of SIDs working with us. The goal is to create a really an easy to use tool, even if you've got maybe a student worker that's not quite as in tune. Like a lot of our products, the goal is to be able to take people that maybe don't have the depth of knowledge that SIDs do, but still are able to stat the game because the software teaches them how to store the game. It walks them through it and helps them do it. Baseball, softball is a big challenge. Obviously, it's a complicated sport, and it always has the ability for things to go off the rails, and the ability for umpires to do strange things that aren't really allowed in the rules, but we have to manage it anyway. E-score sheet for beach volleyball may not be real relevant to this group. I don't know how many beach volleyball programs we have in EAST-COMM, but this is a prototype of what your mobile scoring device might look like. Again, we're putting in basic actions and points just so that we can have a live feed. Greg, did you have something to say? Or you have beach?
No, just saying, I'm probably the only one on here with beach volleyball. So
that's good. And then, like I talked about, an updated school and conference manager, advanced filtering, flexible queries, give you a little more ability to create your own reports and filter things specifically that you want to filter. Genius Sports milestones. I'm not going to go into talk a lot about this. You can read this all in the news if you'd like. There we go. All right, I'm going to, if you have questions, feel free to drop in a question. I'm going to go to a football demonstration. Like I said, it's going to be short. Obviously, I can't show you the entire football program in this time frame. That's why I hope you join a webinar at some point. But we'll go into football. Okay. So a lot of this, the pregame stuff, a lot of it's going to look similar, but I will show you a couple of key differences. So I've got this game that this training game that I set up. Remember, if you're in the test environment, that's the orange border. You can go ahead and open the, under the help menu, you can create a new training game. These two training games match the full length videos on the NSCM. Okay, so you can do these, and you can do these multiple times. So you can set up these games many, many times over. So if you do half the game, and then your student worker wants to do it and start from scratch, you can go ahead and set up a new one, no problem. All right, I'm gonna come back to the beginning here. I didn't bring a ScoreLink device with me on vacation. Go figure. So I can't set up a live scoreboard. I also don't have a scoreboard here in this room. But this is where you would set up your live scoreboard data. If you have a ScoreLink device or a ScoreBot, you could connect that there. Remember, the only requirement is that both devices have to be on the same network subnet. It may take, the first time you connect it may take some trial and error. You can call Sportscast support, call Kyle down there, and Kyle will work with you and help get that connected. Once you have it set up the first time, it'll be there forever, unless your IT department changes your network settings or something like that. Game info, you've all seen this before, so that shouldn't be anything too different. Team info, you've done this in other NCAA Live Stats sports. Again, I'm not going to go into detail. Players, I do want to talk a little bit about, because you probably want to know how we handle duplicate numbers. So the NCAA database has spaces when you enter your players. Every player has a jersey number and then a stat crew number. Now, if there's no duplicates on your team, those numbers will just be the same. It won't be a big deal. If you do have duplicates, then your jersey number is the actual number the player wears on their shirt. The stat crew number is your alphanumeric number that represents them when you use stat crew. Okay, so that's so duplicates, people often use 5A and 5 to differentiate players. So we need those numbers because they have to be accurate. Now, as I look at St. John's roster, I can see some duplicate numbers in here, and it's not a problem. We can have duplicate numbers because these are actual jersey numbers. If I click show old number, it'll show me this old number column, and it'll show some of these alphanumerics for stat crew. Okay, so these are what you set up in the NCAA database. Hopefully, when you're the visiting team, you do this in advance, you know, to give that home school the proper roster to the best of your ability. Notice while jersey numbers can freely have duplicates, if I try to have a duplicate stat crew number, I get an error. Okay, and that's simply because stat crew won't permit it. All right, so we'll have that'll create an error, and it won't let you save this screen and move on until we fix it. Okay, we fix it either by creating a unique alphanumeric number, or we could deactivate the player as well. So you can see as I go down the list, there's a number of duplicates here, but they all have alphanumeric codes. Okay. St. John's, we use St. John's intentionally because St. John's historically has a extremely large roster. Okay. Same thing over here with Gustavus. Okay. They've got a few duplicate numbers as well. Okay. So jersey number can be duplicated. Stat crew number cannot be. Okay, and that's just the limitation of stat crew. And if we want to make a pack file for you at the end of this game, we have to know that alphanumeric number so that we can put the right player, give the right player to the right stat in that pack file. Starters, these are just check boxes. Feel free, you can do this pre-game, you can do it mid-game, you can do it before you finalize. However you like to do starters. Some people put in all their probables and then make adjustments as needed. Other people don't even worry about it till they get to the end of the first quarter and then they put them in. Either way works. I'm just gonna drop in a couple here just so there's something to look at later. And I'll give a few for, okay. The next step is this team roster page. Okay. Sometimes we call this our 5 deep. Okay. So this will be something that for next season, you will manually enter. In the future, beyond next season, we're hoping to have this automated where it'll take your season stats and populate with the most common people for these different positions and actions. Okay. So it's real easy to add players in. If I need to add a third quarterback, I can do that. It does not matter. This isn't actually a depth chart, okay? Because you notice I did this before, so you wouldn't have to waste time watching me do it. But notice that they all come in numerically anyway. So it's not actually a depth chart. This can be changed and edited during the game. So if you suddenly discover, there's a running back that is suddenly carrying the ball every time and you didn't expect them to, you can go ahead here, choose 5. I'll choose a running back and add them in there. Okay. This is not a required step, but I guarantee it'll make your entry a lot easier if you put up these preset players, because now when you choose a rushing play, it'll prompt you for the rushers, for these 5 rushers. Okay, and that should cover most of your action. You can still, of course, credit any action to any player, but it will be easier if you've done this. It'll be easier with special teams as well, punter, kicker, holder, all that kind of stuff. You can drop that in there now, in the preset, and then when it comes to that actual action, you don't have to search for the players; they're right there. Drop them in. Most people don't have more than 1 punter, 1 kicker. If you have 5 long snappers on your depth chart, you really need to have a talk with your coach. All right. You can also kind of see how we handle duplicate numbers. When we have a duplicate, it's split into 2 boxes. We give you the position and the initials of the player to help you determine who that is exactly. One quick way to bounce around the player list is you can use the numbers on your keyboard. So if I press 5 on my keyboard, it'll take me right to the 50s. Okay, if I press 8 on my keyboard, we'll go to the 80s. If I press 2, we'll go to the 20s. Okay, so you see we can move around a little quicker that way if you find that helpful. If not, you can just certainly click. We call these number buckets. You can click on the proper bucket and then find the right player as you need to. Notice there's 3 number 23s. That shouldn't be allowed in NCAA football anymore. They've limited it to 2 players per jersey number maximum, but if it is, it'll work. You can click that and then it'll open up all those 23s for you. Okay. We had the same thing for Gustavus's roster as well. Okay. So let's do a little bit of game action and then we'll get to some questions. When you set up a coin toss, make sure you are choosing the winner of the coin toss and not just clicking the receiving team by default. I've seen that error once or twice. So St. John's wins the toss. They can kick, receive, choose an end zone, or defer. Often teams defer. Now Gustavus has the choice. They can kick, receive, or choose an end zone. They'll probably receive. And we'll choose an end zone direction, northeast, south, or west. Hopefully your field isn't laid out on a diagonal. So choose that. Proceed. Confirming the end zones. We are confirming the end zone that the team is defending. Okay, you're determining the end zone the team is defending. Currently, I have St. John's defending the end zone to my left and Gustavus defending the end zone to my right. This is just for your benefit as a statistician. So nothing else matters except how you're looking at the field. You want to obviously have your screen oriented the same way that the teams are actually on the field. If I need to switch it, I click switch and you see in the background, the 2 teams switch. Gustavus is now defending the end zone on the left and St. John's is defending the end zone on the right. You can go ahead and do that. If I confirm it and then I discover I'm wrong, it's okay because under the game menu, I can go to switch team sides and I can switch it right back. Okay, anytime. All right, here's our preset kicker is prompted for us. I could select any player out of the player list if I want. We could have an offensive lineman kickoff, that'd be fun, but we'll just select the kicker. Ball is kicked. All right, you see the potential outcomes on the bottom. So generally you work top down, but as I'll show you, you don't, on each screen, you can you can enter things in any order you wish in most cases. All right, so let's have a fair catch. Okay, here's an example. I can enter where the fair catch was caught and then the returner, or I can do the returner and then where the fair catch was caught. It doesn't matter. So I'll click number 5. Yard lines, we have this field diagram here. It's prompting me with the first 20 yard lines, which would be the most common place where a fair catch would be taken. Okay, I can click any one of these to get a yard line, or I can click on the field and it'll always give me a set of yard lines to work with. If I click anywhere on the field, we'll click the 4 yard line. Once I have that, we'll have the summary here, 96, kickoff 61 yards to the 4, and a fair catch by number 5 at the Gustavus 4. And the next snap, always important to read, make sure the next snap looks right. Gustavus snap 1st and 10 at the 25. If something's wrong, that's okay. I can come right back up here. You know, it's actually the 3 yard line. I can go ahead and do that, and the play summary is changed to the 3. Click next play. All right, these first 3 buttons, first 3 rows here are called sticky buttons. These buttons will be remembered for each play. So this is the first play from scrimmage for Gustavus. So I need to establish a quarterback. I need to establish if they're huddle or no huddle or under center or shotgun. So we can do all that. Those plays, those sets will be remembered. Picking your quarterback is especially important because, of course, that's your default passer. So when you do a pass play, it'll default to the quarterback. You can always choose someone else if necessary, but the quarterback will always be the passer by default when you start a play. Ball snapped, we would like you, to the best of your ability, to click ball snapped at the moment it snapped. This creates an internal timestamp. The software notes the exact time the ball is snapped, and this can be used in other applications, like when you're trying to sync video to the play-by-play, things like that. This can be useful. So to the best of your ability, click ball snapped when the ball is snapped. If you need to recall it, you can recall it and do it again. It's fine. All right, let's do a rushing play example. So when I click rush, first we want to know the rusher. We want to know what direction. Again, I could do this in any order until I get to the outcome. Once I get to the outcome, then we move on to another screen. Right now, the direction doesn't appear in the play-by-play. It will by next season. You'll have direction appearing in the play-by-play. So currently for rushing plays, it doesn't have a lot of value. We're going to develop a rushing chart. We're going to develop things with it. So it's there. We want you to get used to using it. In passing, the direction does show up on the passing chart, which I'll show you if I get a chance here. So I'll choose a player, choose a rusher, I'll choose a direction. So these outcomes at the bottom are going to become pretty familiar to you because pretty much every play ends with a ball carrier, and it's going to end with one of these options. They're going to get tackled, they're going to fumble, they're going to lateral someone, they're going to go out of bounds. End of play simply means they went down on their own and there's no tackle to be credited. Okay, so imagine a receiver making a diving catch and they're just down. That's an end of play. Kneel down, quarterback takes a knee. We enter it in as a kneel down. We credit it to the quarterback. I shouldn't say credit it. We indicate the quarterback took the kneel down, but statistically it's credited to the team. It's a team rush like it should be. Okay. And there's one more outcome up here, a touchdown. Okay. Once you establish the rusher and direction, if he takes it all the way to the end zone, you don't have to do anything else except click touchdown. Okay. Do not, this will be a stat crew habit to break. Do not advance them to the 0 yard line and end play at the 0 and assume that's going to be a touchdown. Okay. That'll end the play at the 0 yard line. If you want a touchdown, click touchdown. All right. So if I click tackle, see, here's our preset players as we established back on the other tab. I need a yard line. I can do this in either order I like. If it's a solo tackle, I'm going to make sure to use the top row. If there's 2 players on the tackle, I can use I'll use the top row and the second row. And I think most people generally assign the tackler first and then they wait for the referee to spot the ball. So we'll do that. So we'll have 22 on a tackle. And if I need to go into my list and find a different player, we can say, there's 41 on the tackle as well. Okay, so we assign 2 tacklers. We need a yard line. It's giving me the line of scrimmage. It shows me the first down marker. It gives me a few yard lines going backwards for a loss. If I need to go back further, in most cases, these yard lines would be all I need. But if not, I can click anywhere on the field and get any yard line I want. I'll click right here and I can pick the 33. I'm going to read the summary. Number 29 rushes for 8 yards to the 33, and he's tackled by 22 and 41. Gustavus snap, 2nd and 2 at the 33. Next play, we're 2nd and 2 at the 33. We've got the quarterback. Remember our sticky buttons. We remembered that this is a quarterback huddle under center. I don't need to change these if nothing has changed. We're all set. I'm going to show a pass play quick. I know I could show 100 other options. So pass play to the left. Notice our quarterback is pre-selected. I didn't have to do anything with it. If we're running a halfback reverse and the wide receiver is going to throw it, we could go ahead and we could click X here and select a different passer. But in most cases, it's going to be the quarterback. Complete, incomplete, intercepted, spike. Again, analogous to a kneel down. We'll show the spike for the quarterback, but it's a team pass attempt. Sack and a sack fumble play. We'll choose complete. Now here's where a new piece of information comes into play. Every pass requires a yard line for the catch or the target. So a completed pass, we need to know what yard line they caught it on. Okay. This helps develop our passing chart and also calculates yards after catch. if it's an incomplete pass, we're going to want to know the target receiver, and we're going to want to know where, what yard line they were at, where they were targeted, where they were trying to throw the ball to, even though they were unsuccessful. Again, that helps build our passing chart to show show left, middle, and right, and also how deep the quarterback is throwing the ball. So we'll have a completed pass. It's going to be caught by number 3. He's going to catch it at the 40-yard line. Hey, and now notice our outcomes here. We have a ball carrier again, so this kind of looks like a running play. Okay, because now he's caught the ball at the 40. I'm going to take him to the end zone for a touchdown. So I'm just going to click Gustavus touchdown. Whenever I'm not using the automatic clock. So whenever I have a scoring play or a change of possession, it's going to prompt me for the time. Okay, it's because I'm running manual. So I'll click a 13:35 to set our time. I can actually do this at the end of any play if I'm doing a manual clock. If I'd like to manually enter the clock after every play, I can do that. That might be a pain in the butt, but you can. And so now our summary, we have 15 pass complete to 3 for 67 yards for the touchdown. Clock is at 13:35. And the next play is a Gustavus PAT attempt from the 3. So we'll click confirm. We're on our point after touchdown. We need to choose the first 2 sigmas. Remember, we need to choose extra point or 2-point conversion formation. I can choose extra point. Here's where my preset players comes in real handy. I don't have to go searching for my kicker, holder, long snapper. I've already preset them. We'll choose ball snapped. If it's some kind of fake and it turns into a pass or a rush, we can do that. Most likely they kick it. If it's made, it adds a point. That's kind of boring. If it's missed, you can see that we can have different areas where they can miss it, including hitting the uprights and the crossbar. If they miss it short, you'll also see what shouldn't happen on an extra point. You also see there's a spot for a return. That's the old Auburn kick 6 play, or the play simply ends. So we can indicate where the play ends. We'll just say end of play. End of play probably ended at 0 because the kick went short. Next play, we're set up for a kickoff for Gustavus. I'll run a quick return. Okay, returned by number 2. He's going to return it from the end zone. So we'll choose 0. And what's the result? He's tackled. Oh, maybe out here at the 37. Need a tackler for that play. We'll say it's 22. Again, looking for the last time of possession. After the kickoff, 13:24. Next play, and we're ready to go with St. John's first play from scrimmage. I've established my quarterback huddle formation to establish those sticky buttons, and we're ready to go. I'll show you a quick penalty situation, and then I think we'll get into questions. Okay, so if we have a ball snapped and a rush, anytime we have a penalty, a big point of teaching point is we want you to enter the entire play as it happened. Even if you saw the flag and you know exactly what it is and you know the whole play is coming back, we want you to enter the whole play as it happened, because we're going to show that in the play-by-play. We're going to show what was negated, what was nullified. And I think that's important information for your users. So perhaps we have number 5 to the left, and he takes it to the end zone for a touchdown. Okay, but we have a flag on the field. So any play, we click flag on the field, turns yellow, and now I can put input penalty. So here's our penalty workflow. We're going to have a penalty on St. John's. The most frequent penalties will be displayed first. I can click show all penalties and it'll show me everything. I can also start typing a couple characters and it'll show me, it'll filter those out for those characters. So this is going to be a holding penalty on St. John's, on one of those big friendly linemen. If I don't choose to charge an individual with the penalty in my stats, I can simply choose team. Okay, the team button's down here at the bottom. We can choose accepted. Now, the big question in StatCrew was always, do stats count on this play? In NCAA Live Stats, what we've done is we've replaced that by simply asking you, where are we enforcing the penalty from? Okay, are we enforcing from the previous spot? If we enforce from the previous spot, that means we've wiped out all the action that occurred and we're counting from the previous spot. The succeeding spot, that would mean we're counting everything that happened to get us to that spot and then enforcing a penalty. Okay. Other spot would be something in between, like a downfield holding penalty. Like the player ran 20 yards, there was a hold, they went another 40. We're going to enforce from the point of the foul that other spot, the 20. So in this case, we look at our options. This is pretty easy. Okay. This is a backfield holding penalty, previous spot. When I click this, you'll see the summary will show me what we have. So we have number 5, rush for 63 yards for a touchdown, but nullified by penalty. Penalty is on St. John's. I put in team, so it doesn't list the player. Holding 10 yards, marking from the 37 back to the 27, no play. Now, if I'm not, this is a pretty easy one, but if I'm not sure, I could click all these options and read these to see what makes sense. Okay, well, we're not going to count the touchdown and then come back 10 yards from the PAT spot. That doesn't make any sense at all. And there's no reason to use other spot. If it was a downfield hold, though, I mean, we could do that. We could say we have a downfield holding penalty and we're going to enforce it from the 34. That will give the rusher credit for yardage to the 34, and then we'll count backwards on that penalty from the 34 back to the 44. These play descriptions will also be updated. Currently, it shows 63-yard gain to the end zone, which was correct. That's what actually happened. We'll show that he ran 63 yards to the end zone, but he actually gets credit for, I don't know what, 33 yards. I didn't do math very well, to show his actual yardage gain as well. Okay, click next play. Now, referees sometimes put the ball down in goofy places. So if they misspot the ball, I can choose adjust yards and we can adjust that back. It'll make it an 11-yard penalty, which the software will indicate with it in red because it knows it's weird. Okay, but we can do that. This edit pencil will also let us freely spot the ball in case we really get messed up. We can go ahead and change the line of scrimmage and the down and distance. It will create a flag. So my last point, which you'll learn on the webinar in more detail, you do really have to fix flags and incomplete actions in football. The reason being is a lot of those flags and incomplete actions will mess up your yardage, and then your yardage won't balance. And then the NCAA will receive it, and you'll get an error message back that says, hey, your receiving yards don't match your passing yards. And the reason is you had to fudge a yard line because you might have had to, but you do have to go back and fix that to make the yard line to come out. You can always see in the action log, you can see your incomplete actions. That's the yellow icon. I can also go here to the full screen action log. This play is incomplete because we haven't just started entering it, but you can see, you can filter for flagged and incomplete actions. And again, if you're on a webinar, that'll show you a lot more. All right. I talked longer than I meant to. I know we're scheduled till I think it's 10:30 your time. I have at least 30 minutes that I can spare to you. I can even stretch out to 45. And then I probably got to hand over the computer to my daughter because she's got an honors choir thing that she needs to do as well. But and we only brought one computer on our trip. But I'm happy to answer questions right now, whether they're NCAA Live Stats football or anything else that you want to ask. I'm just going to leave the football program up here now as we talk.
Everyone, just feel free to use the chat too, if you'd like. David, I actually had a question.
Sure.
Can you show us a yard after catch type play?
Sure. Well, I already entered one. On that touchdown, he caught it at the 40 and then he ran to the end zone. But I'll show you what it looks like in the stats.
What happens if it isn't a touchdown, though, David? I guess that's why maybe I want.
Sure. We'll enter the yardage of the catch and the yard line of the catch, and then the yard line where he's tackled. There we go. The first report always takes a little longer to generate for some reason, and then after that, it works quick. There we go. Yeah. So here's his receiving. Todd Johnson, he has 67 yards receiving, 60 yards after the catch. So he caught a 7-yard pass and then took it 60 more yards to the end zone. But I'll enter that play again here. Ball snap, pass, middle, complete. He's going to catch this at the 39, number 84. And then he's going to be tackled, let's say at the 30 by number 55. Next play. So this is a 15-yard gain. Okay, 15-yard gain. But you'll see it split up between in the stats between his yards after catch. So here's receiving Jack Kemper. Here's a 15-yard catch, but 9 of those are yards after the catch. Okay. Same thing if we have an incomplete pass. I will show you that incomplete pass. We still need a target yard line, and we still need a target receiver. I can add, if it's a drop, I can add a breakup for the defender if I need to. Okay, I can add quarterback hurries. The next play is 2nd and 10 on the 30. Yep, that's right. And you'll see that we have, for St. John's, we have a receiver with a target in the stats. Right there, Gavin Knott, 1 target, but no catches. I said I'd show you that passing chart too, where some of this information is. Again, this will be very bare bones because I've only put in a few plays. But this is, you get the idea on what the passing chart looks like. So here's Gustavus. He threw it was a 7-yard pass that went for a 15-yard gain. If we look down here at, no, that was St. John's. For Gustavus, here's that touchdown. It was a short pass that he ended up taking 67 yards, short pass to the left. Okay. Also notice over here, I've got an alert icon. Okay, right there. Over here on the side, we've got an alert icon. If I don't know why, it just means there's incomplete information in here. Oh, it's because if I click on it, it'll show me, oh, I didn't put in a direction for the play. It's highlighted in red for me. So I'll choose right. And now that alert icon is cleared. When I go back to latest, it takes me back to my current play. Okay. So clear up the incomplete actions and the flags whenever you can. If you do it at timeouts, if you do it right away, if you do it at halftime, you do it before you finalize, but do clear them up. Okay. I know some of us have gotten into habits in basketball where we just ignore flags and finalize games. That's also a bad habit. You should clear them up there too. But in football, it's going to become particularly crucial that we finalize those, or the NCAA is not going to be able to accept your stats because things won't balance because you're missing a key yard line somewhere.
David, we had a question about soccer. If you can switch your hat here a little bit. There are many play-by-play inputs for soccer that don't appear in post-game XML files. Any thoughts on this being changed?
Well, you're probably talking about throw-ins and goal kicks. Could it be changed? Yeah, it could be changed. I mean, the reason being is our first step was to recreate the XML file as it has been for Stat Crew, and of course those things weren't included. We could go deeper on that. I don't know that that's a super high priority, but I think more, well, rather than keep spending time changing the XML file, which is risky because changing the XML file for us might break it for some other purpose. We're more likely working with providers like Sidearm and Presto to get them on our API. The API feed, the data feed has all the information, and then they can display and show whatever they want with the XMLs, with their game centers, not with the XMLs. They can display and show whatever they want there. So yeah, we could change it. I just don't know that that's going to be a real high priority item as we're trying to get, as different providers like Sidearm are moving to API anyway.
David, question about incomplete actions in football.
Yeah, go ahead, Luke.
So what if there's truly no target? You know, the quarterback rolls out and then just flings it out of bounds.
Yeah, then we click the no target button.
Okay.
We still kind of need a yard line because we want to know if he.
Yeah, kind of where it crosses out of bounds or whatever.
Trying, but yeah, we would just click no target and go to the next play. Yep.
David had a question about basketball.
Sure.
Am I able to set up the Sportscast connection ahead of time in the test environment, and then will it carry over into the game environment?
Yes, I mean, when you open up the software, you'll reconnect it in the system check page, which obviously this isn't basketball, but you can set it up. We're in test environment now. We could set this up and make sure it works, use a test game, whatever it is. When we go to the production environment, we'll have to choose the right device again and connect it again. But yeah, you can absolutely test in the test environment with the Sportscast device.
David had another question for you. Just wanted to understand the reasoning behind keeping track of some stats that aren't NCAA stats in some of the software.
Just greater depth of data, more descriptive information that we can provide to downstream viewers and media, trying to give them more info. Also, in some cases, it results to keeping the data feed live and updating and accurate. I know that with soccer, one of the big complaints that we heard during development was there might be 20 minutes or 10 minutes where nothing happens and I don't enter anything and my live stats don't move. And then I start to get calls from my athletic director that tells me the live stats are stuck, and so we wanted to keep the inputter engaged, and collect some additional data, the possession data and the field zones, things like that. So that's one reason. It's basically trying to give you a more complete, better set of data than we've had in the past. The goal isn't, the goal is certainly to collect stats for NCAA statistical purposes, but it's also to tell the story of the game, and we're trying to tell a deeper, richer story of the game.
Just one last question on that. Any chance those could be optional in the future or no?
Not likely. The goal is to have everybody collecting the same data so that we can compare data, and so that we can have everybody collecting the same information so that we can see it. If there's a stat that we declare optional and half the country collects it and half the country doesn't, then it's not useful on a national level. Or if half your conference collects it and half doesn't, it's not useful on a conference level. the request from the NCAA, and the goal is to collect all the same data.
Another question just came in. Have there been any conversations about building a field hockey platform at this point?
Yes. Yeah, and we will. But baseball and softball is in the queue now, and then the next two in one order or the other will be lacrosse and field hockey. And we know that with field hockey, we know that one reason particularly in D3, one reason our soccer numbers are a bit lower is that there is no field hockey product. So I know we have some users that say, I might as well buy Stat Crew because it gives me field hockey and soccer, and I get that. And so yeah, it's certainly in the queue, but we can only develop so much so fast.
David, I actually had a question for you, baseball, softball related.
Sure.
How similar to, I don't know if you've seen or used Point Streak, how similar to like inputting the hitting data and all that, is it to that?
It's not.
Okay.
Basically, we're going to ask the data when a ball is hit into play, and this is all preliminary because I don't have a prototype I can show you or anything, and things can change. But basically, when a ball is hit into play, we're going to ask you where on the field it was hit. We'll give you a field diagram to click where it was hit to, and then we'll also ask, was it is it a grounder, a line drive, or a fly ball, and was it hit hard, medium, or soft? Just to give a little more detail in our play-by-play, where we can talk about this was a hard ground ball, this was a soft ground ball, things like that. Yeah, and then if the player's put out, we'll go into which fielders made the play, because we recognize that in modern baseball, a ball hit in the right side gap could be fielded by the third baseman if they've shifted over. So we'll account for that too.
Another question came in. What type or types of positive reactions have you gotten from coaches through the grapevine of the SIDs with some of the game reports you offer?
Very positive. I think I think that the complaint we occasionally get is sometimes the font type is too small, which we in basketball, we actually changed it a number of times in the first season, trying to make that bigger and better. But no, I think, I think, when you're talking about baseball and softball, I think one thing that's people are going to like is right now we've got coaches spending a ton of money to third-party companies on spray chart reports and things like that, shelling out huge dollars, and we might be able to replace that for them and make it part of the regular statistical set, and that'll be money they don't have to spend anymore. So I think from a coach's standpoint, the feedback on our reports has been very positive.
David, I imagine the hit location will be something along similar to the lines of something that you won't be able to toggle on or off, because I imagine there will be coaches who won't want that put out there.
Well,
considered.
It'll be entered. The question that we'll discuss with the NCAA is, what are we going to show publicly in reporting? So it'll be something that's going to be entered. I would say almost for certain, but as far there's going to be a larger discussion with the NCAA on what reports are going to be proprietary just for that school and what reports are going to be public information. And that's something that will be discussed, and really that's kind of out of our hands. Whatever the NCAA tells us they want to do as far as that, they will.
Another question that's come in: any thoughts on converting beach volleyball app to be used for tennis and maybe even golf? That could be a question too.
Yeah. We haven't specifically discussed tennis, to my knowledge. Maybe above my head we have. but I do think that the beach volleyball, one of the reasons for going forward with beach volleyball was one, being that it's a much smaller set of schools, that it was a pretty good testing, proving ground for this type of competition, this multi multi-flight events. So I think there was some thought that, yeah, if we can do a decent beach volleyball program, then that can be applied to tennis. But again, that's a little speculation on my part, because no one that I know has ever asked me specifically about tennis at this point. But it would seem to make sense that if we get beach volleyball where we like, then that could be applied to tennis. Golf, we have not discussed anything on golf at this point, to my knowledge.
Another question, baseball, softball related, David. Will baseball, softball allow hit location data to be optional if a game has to be entered manually out of a scorebook after the fact?
Yeah, there's going to be
games.
Yeah, there will be a type of manual entry function for because we also know that the expectation is if you're doing the game live, you're going to also put in pitch by pitch data, ball strikes, fouls. But we understand that there's a lot of games that can't be scored live. They're played in Florida at a community park and nobody was there except the coaches and players. And so there will be some manual entry functions that will help you work through that.
If anyone else has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We've gotten past the 10:30 mark. Give it a couple more minutes if anyone else has any questions here. Doesn't seem to be the case, David. Appreciate your time today,
right,
especially coming on vacation. Hold on, we have one more. Roster size for baseball, more than 40 players?
Absolutely. We don't football. We don't have roster limits. Okay. The internet is virtually infinite. So there's no reason to limit roster size. Now, I will tell you, when we convert to pack files for Stat Crew, one of the ways we help you get around the roster size issues in Stat Crew is we only put players in the pack file that actually played. We have the ability to do that because we're creating the pack file after the fact, so we can see exactly who participated. So that should help for baseball. Now, if we have a baseball game where you actually have more than 40 players who participate and we convert it to a pack file, Stat Crew's not going to like it, and you're probably going to have to do some manipulation to figure that out. Same thing with football. If you actually have a football game where you actually had 110 players participate, or more than 110 players participate, God help you, you'd probably have to figure that out with Stat Crew, because we can't do anything about their limitations. But one thing we've done though is we only include players in the pack file that actually participated, and not all the extra non-participants. Any plans when the season XML is going to be generated from live stats? Never, Ryan. And here's why. I know I've done this explanation a number of times, but I don't mind doing it again. We did it on the COSIDA convention call as well. The primary purpose of the season XMLs is for sidearm, because sidearm takes those season XMLs, and that has been how they have done their individual career data on their individual player bios. Okay, so that's why people want season XMLs. We understand that. A couple of years ago, when we launched, we talked about these season XMLs with Sidearm, and Sidearm has said, listen, this is how we created. And I'm speaking, I always feel bad because I'm speaking for Sidearm, and really we should ask Sidearm directly so I don't misspeak for them. But they want, this is how they created the career bios initially. They did it that way so that you wouldn't have to enter in 20 seasons of individual game XMLs going backwards. They just let you enter one season XL per season. But Sidearm is changing up how they do this process for their individual bios. And they are now just going to take your individual game XMLs as they happen, upload those to the software, to their system, which you're doing anyway. And then that will automatically update each individual player's career numbers on their bio. So they're in the process of doing that this off season, as I understand. If you need to know what timeline they're on, you probably need to ask them to make sure. But that's why we never developed season XMLs, and we never plan to, because Sidearm's changes are going to render the season XMLs obsolete, and there's no reason for us to spend time developing an XML file that's going to be obsolete.
All right, great. Well, it looks like that's all the questions we've got, unless there's any others. Again, David, just want to thank you for taking the time on your vacation to join us this morning.
Sure.
Just a reminder, our next panel is at noon. It's our icebreaker panel where we kind of introduce everybody. We'll play a couple games, and we'll hope to see everybody there. But thanks for joining us this morning, and we'll see hopefully everybody at noon.
All right. Thanks, everybody.